Hi, this is Tisch Aitken, and I'm here to discuss the week ahead. It is April 27th, 2020. We had a big week last week. We had a new moon that took place on Earth Day. It took place in Taurus at 3 degrees of Taurus. And what's interesting about that is that Venus is about to retrograde. It's about to uh, retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini on May 13th. And it will be retrograde from May 13th until June 25th. Now, the last time Venus was in retrograde, it retrograded from October 5th of 2018 until November 17th of 2018. And at that time, the nodes of fate changed signs. So in the middle of it, the nodes of fate entered Capricorn Cancer on November 6th of 2018. And right now, let's see, today is, I have to keep my track of dates. It's April 27th. So tomorrow, actually, let's see here. Yeah, the nodes of fate are entering 0 degrees of Capricorn and Cancer. So that's significant for two reasons. The nodes of fate change signs approximately every 18 months, as does Venus retrograde approximately every 18 months. But also, the nodes of fate right now are at the world axis, anything at 0 degrees of a cardinal sign. And the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, means that big fated events occur, significant situations with world leaders, people in power, well-known people, and in our own lives, things usually happen in a much more pronounced manner. So the nodes of fate are at the world axis this week. They actually change signs on May 5th and go from Capricorn Cancer to 29 degrees of Sagittarius and Gemini. So the South Node will be in Sagittarius, which is what we're meant to release and let go of. And the North Node will enter Gemini, and that's what we're meant to go towards. And that's more about, they both deal with education and learning and I believe promotion in different ways. But regardless, this is a big week with the nodes of fate so pronounced. So pay attention to whom you meet this week. Pay attention to the world news. Pluto also just stationed retrograde on Saturday the 25th. We feel the energy 5 days before and 5 days after with an outer planet. So right now in North Korea, we don't know the situation with the leader, with if his sister's going to take over or what's going on there. There's a lot of mystery and secrecy in terms of that. In terms of things in our own lives, pay attention to what's going on this week because, we've got tomorrow, Mercury in Taurus is going to square Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn is briefly in the sign of Aquarius until July 2nd. And what that means is that people will feel very held back in the way they communicate. They'll feel very frustrated. They'll feel like they're not making progress. Ways of transmitting information might get compromised. Technology or other things that we're relying on can potentially get challenged with that. And people will probably get very stubborn and be in arguments with that. That's a held back, frustrating energy. So I think it's significant for doing something that takes hours of work. Maybe it's doing your taxes for July, doing something that takes hours of dedication, something not exciting. But as we get further into the week, on April 30th, Mercury is going to meet up with let's see here. Sorry, Mercury is going to meet up with Uranus and Taurus. And that Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. And that is an aspect of brilliance and innovation. And that's the opposite. That's where you can find so many different opportunities in so many different ways. And it's kind of like the Fool card. If you think one thing works, maybe something else. It's different paths you haven't pursued yet, different doors you haven't opened. So that to me is very exciting energy and very good for brainstorming and networking and writing, and great for doing your social media, great for doing any type of online pitch you might have, things like that. Now, as we get a little bit further into the weekend too, on Sunday, Venus in Gemini is going to square Neptune in Pisces, and they're going to square each other again at the end of June. Now, Venus is currently out of bounds, and that means that it's not quite playing by the rules, and it's going to be out of bounds until June 2nd. And it's also in its shadow, meaning that it's going to retrograde from May 13th until June 25th. So it already entered its shadow a while back. And again, my sense of time, like the rest of yours, is very compromised. But pay attention to whom, to whatever's coming up in your life. People from the past often do resurface during retrogrades. With Venus in particular, Mercury retrograde, we've all heard about. It retrogrades 3 to 4 times a year for approximately 3 weeks at a time. Venus retrogrades once every year and a half. The nodes of fate are at the world axis right now. It's likely that it's going to be significant stories in the next few weeks and really going into the summertime, because we're also having the nodes of fate changing signs on May 5th. And then we have 3 eclipses going on in June and in July. So this is a big year. Every season is going to have big stuff happening. But for now, what you want to do is, if there's something you want to launch, do it as quickly as possible, because Venus does retrograde on May 13th, and that doesn't allow us a lot of time. The nodes of fate are changing signs on May 5th. So right now, up until then, they're at the world axis, which means very big stories are happening in our own lives and on the world stage. And thirdly, I think tap into the creativity and into the manifesting. I think that we're going to have to do things like that to get through this year, because and this week is giving us a foretelling of that. Think of what was going on in the fall of 2018, when Venus and the Sun met up on October 26th at 3 degrees. That triggered and set off by opposition, where this new moon took place on April 22nd. Have you manifested any of that wish? I remember exactly what I was doing that day. I remember actually where I was. I remember I was on Venice Beach. I remember going there to honor the conjunction. I remember I had a lot of dreams that I wanted to manifest at that time. Do you remember what was going on in October of 2018? And obviously a lot of things that have happened since then externally, but what we can control is living with passion. And that's the theme of right now. Venus is about to retrograde, and it's out of bounds, which means it's more pronounced, but it's going to retrograde, realigning with us and all of us with what matters and what we want to manifest in our lives, what we value, what our passion is, what do we want to do with our lives. And it also, I think, with the nodes of fate at the world axis, is showing such significant times. And with all of this Capricorn that led the year, it's a year we're never going to forget, but it's a cardinal year where if we really work with a value system with which we're connected, if we work tirelessly, and it's not just people that are, a lot of people who work hard, they're going to get screwed. I mean, that's also the reality of it, but it's about having passion. It's about a sense of community with Saturn in Aquarius, which we're getting a brief glimpse of now. And it's about the fact that the next few weeks are going to be a big deal. And I will be back with more, and I wish you a lot of luck. Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.